It's one thing to make sure that our puppies are well behaved and well trained, but there's other things we've got to think about as well, especially veterinary matters. So I've come here to Dogs Trust head office to see Veterinary Director Chris Lawrence to get the very best advice. Hello Chris, it's great to be here at Dogs Trust.
Oh, welcome. Nice to see you here.
So what's the first thing that people need to think about when they bring their puppy home for the very first time?
Well, there are two things really. First thing is that the puppies need to be able to get used to the vet. The vet surgeries smell odd and they're quite frightening places for puppies. So taking a puppy in when they're not going to have something done, or nothing hurried anyway, is a good first start.
So I guess that's a really important part of the puppy's socialisation.
Absolutely, and even if you just take the puppy in and a nurse just looks at them, they play with the receptionist, that's all part of that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is for the vet to actually have a look at the puppy and make sure that there's nothing obvious wrong with them. Listen to hearts, look in eyes and ears and so on, and just to make sure that they're healthy and fit. And to look at the paperwork that came with the puppy, because don't forget the bits of paper about hereditary disease that you should have got from the breeder.
Now how about vaccinating puppies? What diseases should we be vaccinating our dogs against?
Well, they're what we call core vaccines, and that's basically distemper, hepatitis, canine parvovirus and rat-borne jaundice. They're all fatal diseases, and so it's really important to vaccinate against them.
What age should we be vaccinating the puppies?
Well, they get an immunity from their mother that would effectively stop a vaccine working before a certain age. That's normally about 8 weeks, so we will give a first dose then, second dose a couple of weeks later, and sometimes with some dogs a third dose later after that as well.
Now there are other things to think about as well. What about parasites?
Well, the most important thing with puppies are worms, because puppies actually are born with worms. So they have to be wormed regularly as puppies. You'd normally start about 2 weeks and then do them every fortnight until they're several months old. So part of the information you should get from the person you bought the puppy from is what worms they've already had. The vet needs to see that, and then they can go on from there.
Is it difficult to worm puppies, and is there any specific products that we should be using?
It's generally very easy to do because most of the wormers these days are palatable, so very often you can just mix it with food. The important thing is to go to your vet for the wormers, because the wormers you'll get from the vet will be much more effective, and that's particularly important with young puppies.
Well, that's worms dealt with, but there's other parasites as well, aren't there?
Well, fleas are the most common other parasites, and don't forget that fleas will quite happily live on humans as well as on dogs, so it's quite important for us as well. They're very easy to treat these days. The most simple drugs are what we call spot-ons, and it's a little tiny tube of stuff that you just put on the back of the puppy's neck, and that will kill all the fleas, and the very best ones will kill all the worms as well.
So are these products going to be safe to use on really young puppies, say the minute you bring them home?
The best products are perfectly safe, but of course it's up to your vet to advise you what is safe and what isn't. But of course if the bitch has been properly treated, then your puppy should come flea-free.
Now I did want to ask you about neutering. Should we be neutering our dogs? And if so, what age should we be thinking about neutering our puppies?
Well, Dogs Trust does our puppies at 4 months of age, so that they are physically big enough, but we get them before they're sexually mature. It's really important to neuter, particularly bitches, because bitches get mammary tumours very commonly, and you prevent it completely if you neuter them before the first season. They also quite commonly get infections in the uterus later in life, and of course you prevent that as well.
What about male dogs in that case? Is there any point in neutering those?
Just as important, because old dogs, like old men, get prostate problems, and there are some tumours that are hormone dependent as well. So it's just as important for a dog.
After listening to everything that you've said today, it seems obvious that one of the most important things is just to find a really good vet.
Yes, it's really important. The best thing to do is to ask other people in the area who have animals, because they will have used local vets and know what they like. And particularly ask what they do out of normal working hours, because some practices you might have to drive a long way with a sick pet, which is not good. If you can't find somebody locally, then look at the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons website, which is rcvs.org.uk. They've got a Find a Vet service on that that's got the details of all the vets in practice in the country.
Thank you so much for that, Chris. You've given a lot of really invaluable advice for anyone who's just about to get their puppy.
No problem. I hope it's a help for them.
So there we are, the very best veterinary advice from Dogs Trust. Now we can make sure that not only are our puppies happy, but they're healthy as well.